Hey guys, and welcome to the Working Money Channel. So yesterday I discussed Martin Volk's take on the XRP price explained. I linked his theory in the description of the video, and a lot of you guys really did find it interesting. Some of you guys agreed with it, others, had some questions. But what I found really great was a comment by Galgatron. Martin sent this to me because Galgatron has blocked me on Twitter. And he writes, yes, parallel demand for in-flight ODL related XRP is one key price driver, but I'd like to reintroduce that whales are the primary influence on price today. Until utility takes control, it's a fictitious number. Very important to note, guys, because we are still at the mercy of whales in the space. We're still in a very immature space right now. XRP is trading at 0.203 cents and BTC is trading at 96.92. But until we can really see massive amounts of cash inflow in the crypto space, it's still being manipulated by whales, as Galgatron points out. So big moves like this. I don't know if you guys remember, I did a video, it was 2 years ago now, so maybe some of you guys haven't seen it. But it had to do with whales and what it took to become a cryptocurrency whale way back when. And realistically, it didn't take that much money. I think a few $100,000. And you could actually manipulate the market if you got into Bitcoin back in 2010, 2011. I ran the numbers, and it really is shocking how many Bitcoin whales there likely are in the space. And I don't even know if they're whales in the sense of they are purposely trying to manipulate the market. But the sheer fact that they have so much Bitcoin and the sheer fact that they want to cash out so much Bitcoin inadvertently manipulates the market, because if you have, 100,000 Bitcoin that you bought in 2010 and you want to liquidate, a few mil, well, that's going to manipulate the market inadvertently. Maybe you yourself are used to a lavish lifestyle and every so often you liquidate Bitcoin because you have a bunch of it. And this is what could be causing some of these major moves up and moves down. So an interesting point of view there from Galgatron. It is a seal of approval for Martin's theory here. Again, Martin, I want to thank you for that. It really did get us thinking yesterday about XRP price and how the increase of XRP price will be directly related to real-world utility once there is a large sum of cash inflow being pumped in for real-world utility. Until then, though, we're at the mercy of Bitcoin and the spec market, which is what we've always kind of been at the mercy of in the last spec run. I mean, you guys got into Bitcoin, possibly, and other cryptocurrencies because of a speculative run. And, eventually you learned more about XRP and thought to yourself, well, real world utility, this is a cryptocurrency that has a future. And maybe you did more research and maybe you really got excited about real world utility and how that is really going to help boost the price of XRP. And maybe you thought it was only going to be 2-3 years away, but realistically, we were looking at a 3 to 5 year time frame. And even a couple of years ago, Brad Garlinghouse was saying 3 to 5 years. So some people are thinking pessimistically and thinking it's not going to be until the 2030s, possibly another decade away. Other people are still assuming it could be 1 or 2 years away until we really see XRP price increase. But guys, that's not to say we shouldn't be excited, because in the last bull run, we did see XRP rise to $3.80. So even if you calculate how much XRP you have, and maybe you plan on, taking out 50%, 25%, 75%. I don't know what your strategy is. But if we do see another bull run and we do see XRP price rise over the $3.80 mark, let's call it $5, $10, I don't know. But I think it is very evident that we will see an XRP price rise once we see Bitcoin price move again. The same kind of thing will happen as did in the last bull run. And no one's going to judge you if you take some money off the table in a spec run and keep, a bit of your stash for real world utility in 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. I don't know how long it's going to be, years down the road. It could be 2 years. The thing is, we don't know. We are at the mercy of the powers that be. But something I found interesting was this tweet here from Omar Days at Omar Osman 254. Prince Charles, indeed, speaking about a financial reset. So this is with regards to the pandemic, and he's saying the pandemic is a chance to reset the global economy. So the recovery from the beer flu crisis represents an opportunity to reset the global economy and prioritize sustainable development without further damaging the planet, Prince Charles said at the opening of the World Economic Forum virtual meeting, outlining a 5-point plan to rebuild economies following a global recession. The prince said the pandemic was the result of a breakdown in the link between humanity and nature and could be corrected by recognizing the independence of all things living. He also stated down here that the private sector would be the engine for the recovery. He talks a little bit about the environmental impact as well. He said the pandemic, which has forced governments worldwide to mothball their economies, has showed people that dramatic change was possible. We have a golden opportunity to see something good from this crisis. Its unprecedented shockwaves may well make people more receptive to big visions of change. And then he outlined 5 points here. But a global financial reset and the idea that the world is going to be different once we come out of this is something that we should be, I don't know, do you guys feel scared about it? Do you guys feel optimistic about it? Do you guys feel kind of halfway in the middle? One thing I do know for sure is that cryptocurrency will play a major role in this financial reset. As we've already heard from members of the IMF, Kristalina Georgieva did also mention this great financial reset, and some of the important things with regards to sustainability is also characterized in cryptocurrencies like XRP, with regards to energy usage, efficiency. And so, this is a big eye-opener. Prince Charles, members of the IMF, there are a lot of people now going on the record saying this is going to be an opportunity for a great reset of the world's economies. Are we going to do better, or are we going to continue down the same path? The fact of the matter remains, people still need jobs, the economies still need to run, there are more people on this planet than ever, and the fact of the matter is, which a lot of people don't talk about, is if we do want everybody to have an equitable life, to move people out of poverty in impoverished countries, there needs to be a method to do this. And so jobs still need to be created, and therefore the economy still needs to chug away. And yes, unfortunately, we still do need to consume. So are the Walmarts of the world going to continue to operate as they have? Are big factories in emerging economies going to exist in the same way they have in the past? These are all interesting questions. And cryptocurrency, again, just a small part of that, but a global reset is upon us. Prince Charles has now mentioned it as well. Guys, I saw this from Matthew Liny on Twitter. The Federal Reserve possibly identifying XRP that will be used by central banks. And so this from the Working Papers Research Department from the Federal Reserve Bank of Philadelphia from this month. And what it says here, notice that this storage technology is the same as the one available to consumers. Banks, however, have the advantage that they can pool the risks of early and late consumers, while individual consumers cannot sign insurance contracts amongst themselves against their idiosyncratic liquidity risk. And he links the article down here. So Maximus Prime asks, storage technology, that could be interpreted a few different ways. What's your take on it? Matthew Liny obviously doesn't know for sure, but it is an interesting point he does bring up. There are a lot of facets of the economy that I'm sure are working with Ripple in a very hush-hush kind of way at this point. Okay, we're good at putting all the pieces together, at connecting the dots, at looking at the connections, realizing who the partners are, digging deep into their research, and, saying, this body's connected to this body, and we know that they have a cozy relationship, and so could they be using XRP? So some of this stuff isn't prominently spelt out all the time, but when you look into it, when you dig deeper, and guys, most importantly, when you do your own research, you can find connections. And it's good to get the brain going. It's a good exercise, a mental gymnastics, if you will. Nevertheless, we're still speculating at this point, but I gotta thank Matthew Liny for posting that. And I saw this on the Daily Hodl, guys. Looming XRP upgrade to implement unusual feature despite apparent opposition from Ripple. So what was this that Ripple was opposing? The validators on the XRPL have voted to adopt a new amendment without support from Ripple. The checks amendment, which I believe we talked about in a former video, has now crossed the necessary 80% threshold. If it stays above the threshold for 2 weeks, it will be activated on the XRPL. And Ripple holds 6 out of the 7 outstanding nays. So the upgrade will allow senders to sign transactions and create virtual checks for specific amounts and destinations. The XRP will not move until receivers decide to cash them. If the checks fail due to potential sender issues like insufficient balance or liquidity, they will remain in the ledger so they can be cashed later. The amendment gained momentum when the XRPL validator Alloy Networks removed its veto vote from June 2nd, leaving it 1 yay short of crossing the threshold. And so here's the tweet to that effect. The following day, another validator, RippleITIN.NZ, removed the final veto necessary for adoption. If no one removes their yay vote, the XRPL will officially adopt checks on June 17th. So this is interesting. Ian Northing posted that article, And some people speculating, like Michael Pinky, is there any comments from Ripple as to why they don't want the feature? Ian Northing, of course, says, ask Joel Katz. Joel Katz did not respond to this thread. However, some people speculating here, this is how paychecks run on the XRP ledger in the new system. Interesting. ADP maybe. Doesn't say why Ripple is opposed to it. Could this change affect Ripple's clients? An interesting question. Also it states, says Just XRP, also it states that checks once created but uncashed remain on the network until cashed. Could a flood of check creations without intent to cash them cause network congestion? Another interesting proposed reason as to why perhaps Ripple does not want this to go through, but it is clear that they have voted overwhelmingly nay on this. But because the XRPL is decentralized and because XRP is not a centralized cryptocurrency, it looks as though if those votes do hold up, that this will be implemented on June 17th. If you have an idea on this, do put it in the comment section. I am always interested in hearing what you guys have to say about these kinds of things. Sometimes we don't get to chat too much on Twitter, but I do read the comment section of the video, guys. So if you have any ideas as to why this could be that Ripple doesn't want this to occur, let me know down below. So this tweet here from Coining203 on Twitter looks like XRP made it into the final rule released today. And this from regulations.gov, okay, the Federal Register, authenticated US government information document here. The Bureau of Consumer Financial Protection do mention XRP, which can be used effectively. They talk about continued growth and expanding partnerships of virtual currency companies such as Ripple, which offer both a payments messaging platform to support cross-border money transfers as well as a virtual currency XRP, which can be used to effect settlement in those transfers. So they are mentioned in this. Great document here. Thanks so much, Coining203. And so I decided to do a little bit more research on this and saw this on Reddit. Remittance transfers under the Electronic Fund Transfer Act, Regulation E, XRP made it into the final rule. So a couple people here discussing this. So is this law now? XRP is a currency and not a security? Question mark. It's a serious question, says one time only 1ZOW03 on Reddit. So now let's get into this a little deeper. What does this mean with regards to the Federal Bureau and the utilization of XRP with regards to this federal document? So ISO Metrics K responds, no, this is not law. This section of the report is more of the same old, that the Bureau recognizes that there are new remittance options, and they are monitoring them further. It's important to note that they use the word could whenever they talk about future payments, and so he gives a few descriptions down here. Quoting the article, remittance market has undergone substantial change since the rule became effective. Further down, after Ripple and XRP are mentioned, these developments suggest that in the future there may be means by which banks and credit unions could reduce their reliance on estimates, but there are limits on the degree to which the developments can solve the problem. More so, they mention some positives. The Bureau notes that this could result in greater standardization and ease by which sending institutions can now exact covered third-party fees and exchange rates. The Bureau also believes that expanded adoption of Swift's GPI product or Ripple's suite of products could similarly allow banks and credit unions to know the exact final amount that recipients of remittance transfers will receive before they are sent. So they are mentioning Swift's GPI product and Ripple's suite of products in this same document. Further down, back to reality, the Bureau in 2019 proposal stated that it did not believe that it was likely in a short to medium term that developments described above would be able to fully eliminate reliance on the correspondent banking network as the prominent method for banks and credit unions to send remittance transfers. So again, while it is nice that Ripple and XRP are mentioned, it is not an absolute green light yet for Ripple or banks, but then again, it isn't a red light either. So still on the table, not necessarily saying yay or nay to Ripple or RippleNet technology specifically. He goes on to say, obviously the government is aware of Ripple and XRP and they are aware Ripple is growing, and it seems they do not have the intention of stopping them, which is at least a good sign. So interesting perspective on this. I wanted to thank these people here who were contributing to the Twitter thread, or to the Reddit thread, and also to Coining203 for posting that. We're also seeing more partnered Ripple companies contributing to the space. So this from Matthew Lany, AirWallex, a Ripple partner, is launching WeChat Pay as a payment option. So when we click on the link, we get to this. The cross-border payment service startup's new offering opens the doors to one of the most active consumer markets in the world. Airwallex is launching a new payments acceptance service that will allow merchants in Australia, Hong Kong, and Singapore to add WeChat Pay as a payment option, the startup announced on Thursday. This solution, which allows users to seamlessly make payments in their local currency for their purchases, enables merchants them to tap into a key Asian e-commerce marketplace. The social media platform has 1.2 billion monthly active users, with its pay function handling over 1 billion transactions daily, guys. And these guys are a RippleNet partner. And here's a quote from Dave Stein, Airwallex's head of corporate development in Australia. As more merchants transition online, they acquire a wide range of payment acceptance options to remain relevant to different payment preferences around the world. So Airwallex, Ripple partnered, opening it up to parts of Asia to be part of the Asian e-commerce marketplace. And so guys, it might not look like it right now, but this is all going to contribute to XRP utility one day. And I think instead of these little partnerships and these little advancements moving XRP utilization forward, we will hear about, this is my thought, or this is kind of what I've been thinking recently, I think we will hear of one big seismic shift, one big change in the space that will get a bunch of utility moving through XRP one day. And after that big announcement, it could be the ISO 20022 integration for all I know, but after that one big announcement, then we're going to see all these smaller players who have already integrated into XRP. Now we're going to see more of those types of guys integrate into XRP, and that's when we'll really start to see inflow. I think we need one major event, something earth-shattering, to build this up. It's not going to be a slow build. I think it's going to be a slow build at first, and then eventually one big event will happen, and that's what will get the rest of the world on Ripple. That's just a thought that's been tinkering around my brain for a little bit. I don't know, I'm just thinking about it. The same as with you guys. We don't really know for sure, although the ISO 20022 project does sound promising. Could it be that? And did you guys see this? So the FUD continues despite the fact that we know it's all BS. This from Ant1 on Twitter, and it has to do with, yes, none other than Peter Brandt and his opinion on XRP. So the XRP community has been lamenting about crypto's price for some time now, and they talk a little bit about Tether. I don't know why they do that in these articles. Besides being a well-known commodity trader, Peter Brandt is also the publisher of the Factor Report and has been studying and analyzing market trading since 1980. In a recent Twitter post, Peter Brandt went all out against XRP while responding to a comment. So Peter's post stated this: a straight comparison to the NASDAQ and the Nikkei. He sought to understand whether the NASDAQ is poised to trace Nikkei's chart or whether it will drop and then collapse. Granted, it's an understandable query coming from an avid chart enthusiast. Peter even went on to provide a chart in an effort to visualize his sentiment. And so the question became, XRP, is it a scam? So one of the commenters here, Francisco Rock, says, why XRP is not at 0.00000013, to which Peter responded by flatly saying XRP is just a manipulated scam and that the price will eventually fall to that level. He says, patience please, it will come. XRP is a manipulated scam. And here's the problem with people like Peter Brandt. He's looking at supply and demand of XRP in the traditional fashion, the same way we look at stocks, the same way we look at Bitcoin. And we have to ask ourselves, could people at Ripple, or could organizations, government bodies, central banks, whoever holds a lot of XRP, be keeping the price down at the moment? And if the answer is yes, then there could be an argument to suggest that XRP is not exposed to the same supply and demand rules that other cryptocurrencies are, like Bitcoin or Litecoin or Ethereum. And here's the part I'm going to have a problem with down the road. Once XRP gains traction, and once we see real-world utility, and once we see actual use cases for XRP, and once XRP hits single, double, triple digits, well, we're all going to be happy because we've made money. But Peter Brandt will still say, see, it was manipulated. We needed X, Y, and Z to happen before all these top people at these top companies were going to start using it, and they've been holding it all along, and look, this is just a scam. They're all getting rich off their XRP now. You see the problem with this? He's kind of hedging his bets both ways. So that's what I think about Peter Brandt. It's a very short-sighted argument to suggest XRP is a scam, full stop. XRP is not a scam. It is the one cryptocurrency that is poised to change the world for good. It has been acknowledged by many important bodies around the world. The company, Ripple, that has a vested interest in XRP doing well, has been the most transparent cryptocurrency company to date. So is XRP a manipulated scam, guys? I'm sure some of you have opinions on this, and others have just written Peter Brandt off altogether. Guys, Michael on Twitter at Val5Links posted this. He sent me this. And this from Wrath of Kahneman originally, at W Kahneman on Twitter. What did Ripple and Brazil talk about in that meeting? He goes on to say, I think there's a good chance it was this. In a February editorial by Ripple's Luiz Antonio Sacco, he encourages the Central Bank of Brazil to advance financial inclusion with instant payments over mobile networks. So, could this have been what they were talking about? Guys, I've linked this in the description. It is in Portuguese, is what I'm assuming. And so I couldn't translate it because it is a PDF document. It wasn't registering within Google Translate. But a few people down here have chimed in. So Wrath of Kahneman goes on to say, there is a particular emphasis on easy microcredit here for micro-entrepreneur individuals, in quotes. Also mentioned are a couple of familiar Ripple reference points, an Accenture study and a survey from Stanford, where board member Athey is, if you guys know Susan Athey, a Ripple connection there, and now a board member of Stanford. He goes on to say the low-end possibilities, consulting Ripple for input about inclusive banking and financial access, the high-end getting input on a robust national real-time payment system. Nothing matters, though, until production contracts are signed, but they clearly have Brazil's attention. And so here are the talking points. We know a couple of days ago, Brad Garlinghouse did have a meeting with the Central Bank of Brazil, but the details were sketchy at best, and now Wrath of Kahneman connecting the dots, putting it all together. XRP Buddha responds, do you remember Brazil's central bank was on the stage panel at Swell, Central Bank's Show and Tell? So very, very interesting and very astute observations. I got to thank Wrath of Kahneman for posting this, giving his opinion on this. Also, Michael at Val5Links on Twitter for bringing this to my attention. So what do you guys think about this? Are we going to see a Brazilian corridor next? And if that's the case, are we going to continue to see XRP utility pitter in until we see that one transformational move that'll really get the money flowing, grab the world's attention, and then we'll start seeing XRP hit 1, 2, 3 digits, maybe even 4 in the coming decade? I don't know, that's just my opinion, but I want to hear what you guys think. Please subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Like the video if you like the content I'm providing. I always love hearing your comments. See you in the next one, guys.